So cloud is basically the point. We need to understand why companies and businesses are more inclined towards moving their infrastructure to cloud. One is the benefit what you mentioned, moreover, and second is accessing infrastructure application over internet is cloud. This is a one-line definition. Means AWS, Azure, Google, IBM Bluemix all has created an interface for customer administrators, and that interface, public cloud interface, people are using and accessing all the services over internet via that particular interface. Accessing infrastructure over internet is cloud. So suppose, and you guys understand that Azure, AWS, Google, these all basically are public cloud providers. And public cloud providers means they have created an interface for customer, or via interface customer can log in and manage their infrastructure, what they rented out from AWS or Azure. So we have three particular section in cloud computing as of today. That's a public cloud, private cloud, and non-cloud. This particular slide is maybe old, so public cloud is day by day increasing. Business are moving towards acquiring infrastructure on cloud via AWS, Azure, or other cloud vendor. And also, companies are moving, big giant organization moving to create their own cloud, which is known as a private cloud. So public cloud, private cloud difference is Azure is a public cloud, AWS is a public cloud, where Azure and AWS created their data center across the globe and given or open to world, then anybody can go and create their account and rent out their infrastructure for their business use or personal use. So these are all public cloud. Versus private cloud means, suppose I have an organization, or you can take example of Yahoo or Google. They have created their own private cloud which can be accessible by their employees, their customer, or their sister concerns. Means they are not selling their cloud infrastructure open to world. So that's the basic difference between public cloud and private cloud. If companies are, so in 2015 onwards, companies are moving towards public cloud, acquiring AWS, Azure, mostly AWS and then Azure. But if you read Gartner report and blogs, after 10 years or so, companies are moving towards their own private clouds. Because security may be issue or data resiliency is maybe the thing where one data center contains everything of multiple customers, then customer segregation need to be done via private cloud, or AWS Azure type of organization offer private cloud. So currently we are talking about public cloud. The example is AWS and Azure. And non-cloud is a non-cloud infrastructure which is on-premises infrastructure. Any question on this slide? Public, private, non-cloud?
Yeah, actually, can you highlight the main difference public and private? So I can correct.
Public means AWS and Azure is example of public cloud where they have created their data centers and cloud interface, and this interface can be open for across the globe. Anybody can go and create the account and rent their infrastructure and use it and pay for it. It's a public cloud. And versus private cloud is solely used by a single organization and their customer, not getting sold to general public. So that's the difference. Now you got it. Private cloud resides anywhere. Means suppose I have an organization. So let me explain you one more time. So basically, I am starting my organization. Let's suppose, and I am based out of North India. So I want to create a data center in North India. I have two options. Either I go to AWS and choose their nearest data center, maybe Mumbai region, and launch all my infrastructure need over AWS, means a public cloud, because I can go and create my account on AWS. Versus I can rent a building and create my own data center, and once I create my own data center, to log in on this data center I can create my own interface, means like Azure console, AWS console and Azure console, same type of console I can create by my developers, and I can give this console access to my employees or my customers or my sister concerns. So my data center is getting used only by my private web console and only by my employees. That's my private cloud. I am not going to sell to anybody my infrastructure or renting my infrastructure to anybody. That's a full-fledged private cloud I have. And definition of accessing infrastructure over internet is getting fulfilled in both the ways. Via public cloud, I am using AWS interface. In private cloud, I am using my own created interface. So nowadays, companies are moving towards, or AWS Azure more public cloud, but future is basically in private cloud. But there is no technological difference between private and public. Only operability and segregation or ownership difference in both the cloud. Internally, inline infrastructure, everything is same. The point is, in private cloud or co-location concept, what you are talking about as third option. Private cloud, as much you invest in your personal infrastructure or your own infrastructure, you can create your environment as simple as AWS. So depend upon the investment you want to make it on your data center. People means SMB business, small scale business, middle type of business or enterprise business is moving towards public cloud because easy to get them and scalability and other options are available on AWS and Azure. They are moving. Why I talked about only AWS Azure? Because 70% of market is already covered by these two, or more than 70% as per Gartner report. There are certain cloud challenges also, which is getting over day by day or year by year. So this is the old slide basically. When the cloud has been started, there is issue of resources, security, spend, compliance, governance control, multi-cloud service, complexity and performance. But you can see year by year, the percentage is increasing, percentage is decreasing. And in 2018 and 2019, AWS has created much services on security, or Azure has created much services or much um, infrastructure they deployed on their compliance and security and all. So day by day, year by year, cloud challenges getting overcome. So cloud computing we discussed. So cloud computing is basically delivering the compute services, server storage, database, software over internet. That's the cloud computing. Coming to definition, essential characteristic basically on cloud computing is broad network access, rapid elasticity, measured service, and on-demand self-service, or you can do resource pooling also. And deployment model, maybe we have public, private, hybrid, community. These all clouds available in market. And service model we have many, but main service model is three: software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. There are many coming in market nowadays, backup as a service, storage as a service, everything. But these are the three main as a service options models available in cloud. You can have your own network, own storage, own servers, virtualization, operating system, middleware, data and application. Everything managed by your means organization, that is on premises. That's why all is red. It's a model typically in on premises getting followed. Versus if you move towards service model of cloud, network is solely managed by means the physical devices of router and switch managed by Azure. Which kind of storage you are going to procure or how storage is getting managed physically, that is managed by Azure. How servers and virtualization need to be configured and which kind of servers like IBM servers or HP servers or which servers you are going to take or VMware you are going to take, that solely decided by Azure. So these blue icons managed by Azure. And rest operating system you can choose which operating system you want to install on your virtualization infrastructure, which kind of middleware you want to choose on your infrastructure, which kind of data you want to upload in your infrastructure, which kind of application you can deploy on your infrastructure. That red is decided by customer, means you. So this is the in service model. Basically what I am going to means what I am presenting here is a combined responsibility or ownership of customer and Azure. In on-premises, everything managed by yourself. That's why all red. In IaaS model, network storage server virtualization solely managed by Azure. Rest above four things basically managed by or decided by you. And you are responsible for taking backup, security and all. How your application should be running. In IaaS, you need to decide. If you move in another model, PaaS, then PaaS is a platform as a service where a platform is getting created by Azure and you are just deploying your data and application on that. So that kind of model where network, storage, server, virtualization, operating system, middleware is already configured, designed, and you are just going to on that service and deploy your data and application. That kind of application, that kind of model is known as PaaS model. When you are going to SaaS, it is two steps ahead. Nothing is managed by you, everything is managed by Azure and you are just paying cost for your consumption. So network, storage, server, virtualization, operating system, middleware, data, application, everything managed by software as a service, Azure. So for example, if you are going to IaaS model, you are creating your virtual machines, you are installing your softwares and virtual machines, maybe database software, maybe .NET, Java software, maybe other kind of application, web server or middleware. Middleware you can deploy in Windows IaaS, in IaaS, and in Linux environment you can deploy Apache, Tomcat, whatever you want. And data you can deploy, and application you can deploy and connect to your databases. That's the IaaS model, typical model which mostly used in market as of today. Because mostly things are happening in market is a migration, and migration for legacy application or running application on premises, more fruitful way to create a IaaS model, because SaaS and PaaS is all depend upon which operating system or inline infrastructure is compatible to your application or not. If you going on PaaS model, the best example is basically SQL Azure, where you are no need to install your SQL server, you no need to configure your SQL server, you no need to manage SQL server based virtual machine or where SQL server is getting installed. You just managing that SQL server interface and data, what table and other components you are going to create. If you are going to SaaS kind of application example, Azure Monitor is the best example, where it's a kind of monitoring software, but you are not installing that monitoring software to any of the Azure application, any of the Azure VM. It's auto installed. No need to check that where Azure Monitor is getting installed, or you don't have any access of the server where your monitors getting installed. Is how Azure is managing Azure Monitor, you don't need to bother about. You're just clicking on Azure Monitor and using that monitoring software for your purpose. It's a software as a service. The oldest cloud service is your Gmail. You are accessing email software over internet from long time, and you are not bothered about how Google is managing their emails or SMTP or POP3 servers to manage your emails, where they are storing your emails, how they are managing these things. You are not bothered about. You are just using that email application and sending and receiving mails all the time. It's also a software as a service kind of service provided by Google. So same type of these type of services available in Azure and AWS or any cloud provider. Depend upon your use case and requirement, you can choose any of the model and deploy your application. It's not mandatory that you only use IaaS for your all cloud need. You can create a combination of all three, IaaS, PaaS and SaaS, depend upon your different needs. Like you want to deploy your web application, you can go for IaaS because you don't want to change the code and all, and you are not sure the compatibility with PaaS and SaaS is available or not. So you can go for IaaS model and create your infrastructure and deploy your applications and supporting softwares. Versus if you are sure that you can use your database Azure SQL for your application, then choose PaaS and Azure Monitor kind of application for SaaS. So got the three model versus on-premises. So coming to advantage of or disadvantage of cloud, advantage is basically flexibility. Why flexibility? Today you are using one service of Azure, tomorrow you can use 10 service of Azure, and day after tomorrow you can close all the service of Azure. That's a flexibility. Availability. All the time services are available for you. Anytime you go and click and launch and use. Accessibility. You can access your services over internet from anywhere in the world. Scalability. You can scale your services as much you want. There is no limitation. Multi-tenancy means you may have multiple tenants, multiple users, multiple accounts under your root account. You can use that. Disaster recovery depends upon how much you want to invest on your cloud infrastructure services. You can create your DR site also. And cost of ownership. What you are using, you are paying for it only. And metered service. Metered service means if you launch a virtual machine and you are using 8 hours a day, then only you are paying for 8 hours. Not more than 8 hours. That's the metered service. Disadvantage which is getting overcome day by day, downtime, vulnerability of attack and security. Azure and AWS both are working much for enhancing their security features, and they are getting that particular. Means you have not heard any incident from last 4-5 years in Azure and AWS which is saying that there is an attack happened on Azure or AWS infrastructure. So Azure and AWS both are working much for security point of view. If you take a very typical example of traditional versus cloud computing, means you are buying a car and using that, it's a traditional data center concept. all money upfront, road tax, ownership, maintenance cost, insurance, driver, fuel, repair and all. Versus you are taking rental of your car and just using and as per your use and paying for it. But if you are renting a car daily basis, then anyway it's more expensive than you're buying a car. So what I'm trying to say, in 5 6 years or 10 years, your cloud bill is more than your data center. What I am seeing on my customer end. But the point is, still it's beneficial for customer. Why? Because in your traditional data center, you have certain limitation to deploy your infrastructure or dependent on multiple vendor of compute, storage, network like IBM servers or VMware servers, EMC storage or Cisco network and all. But in cloud, you have a flexibility. So you are doing more deployment. So earlier my deployment cycle or new change cycle or change management cycle is happening in months. After doing in cloud, my change management cycle is becoming in a week's time. Means I can do more deployment, more applications I can launch, more business. As business increase, my applications, my infrastructure is getting increased and easy to increase and easy to operate in cloud. Even I am paying more, but customer is happy because they are going to deploy their more applications, more things on cloud in agile way, and it's a short span of time versus the traditional data center happening. So customer is ready to pay more if they are getting more in cloud. Pricing model is very clear in cloud vendors in Azure or AWS specifically. So Azure pay per use pricing model, subscription pricing and hybrid pricing and list pricing model. Means whatever you are using, you are paying for that only. Hourly basis charge, per GB cost, and monthly basis you are getting your bill and you are getting charged and you are paying for it. Simple, clear cut costing mechanism. And you can see your costing uh, in your billing section, how much bill I am getting in a month or how much utilization I have in a month. You can easily see that on your Azure console. So coming to your Azure infrastructure. So you guys have Azure account in your or you guys need to create Azure account. So you should have a free account of Azure. Whoever has, that's good. Whoever not, they can create your Azure account and use it for your practice purpose where I am giving you assignments. So
Okay.
coming to Azure, basically Azure is cloud offering from Microsoft and they are promoting more Microsoft applications, Microsoft typed applications. Any individual organization can create, deploy and operate cloud-based application and infrastructure on Azure. It's an open and flexible cloud platform. You can build, deploy, manage application. You can build application using any language, tool and framework and integrate with public application existing with your existing environment. So the point is, if you are already using Microsoft kind of services or applications, then it's easy for you to move to Azure. If your on-premises infrastructure is more Microsoft inclined, then you can easily go on Azure and you can get certain discount from Azure when you are moving your on-premises to cloud. Because Azure is giving discount if you are already a Microsoft customer. That's a benefit for you in terms of cost. So giving these all applications over internet or services, Azure is not doing any magic. They have created multiple data center across the globe. You can see in this particular picture, they have created this green sections, what is showing in a diagram. They are data centers. They have data center in Canada, US West, California and all in US region, UK region, India region, China region, Japan, South Asia region, Africa and Brazil and Australia, they have data center. And these triangles, blue triangles are coming soon. Means maybe in a year they will come more data center. So means they are not doing any magic. They have created their physical data center across the globe, and you are renting your infrastructure from any of the data center, and you are paying for it to Azure. And Azure internally managing these particular data center hardware, network, and operability. So Azure data center located around the world, strategic places where as per the customer demand. So these are the Azure regions. So regions and data center. So area known as Azure region placed in distance to each other. And there is a 36 regions around the world. And these are the full-fledged regions. So the question is, which region I need to choose for my infrastructure? What parameters are dependent to choose a region? So the parameters dependent to choose the regions are location, where your business located. Suppose I am an India base, suppose my customer base is Delhi NCR or India, then I can choose my nearest India data center, or if I don't have any India data center, then I can go for Singapore, at least nearer. Compliance needs. My customer base is more towards India, then if I choose India data center, then it is compliant to my need. It's compliant to my all specific requirement, versus I choose my US data center. No, US data center, lot of latency I can face, and also whatever things I can use in India as per Indian policy, I cannot use in US. Third important factor is service availability. Which data center is more service available zone? So depend upon region to region, your services may vary. You can get all the services in US region only versus Mumbai region, because US region is an old region. They have a big giant data center there, so they are managing multiple services in US region. Data residency and sovereignty, basically it's very important thing. I am going to reside my data in Mumbai data center because it's following the Indian laws and all, so I choose my India data center. If my customer base is based on US, anyway I can operate from India, but I can use my US data center to retain or resize my data, because that residency policy is US oriented. And also pricing. So if you choose low cost pricing, then you can choose any low cost data center like US data centers. So it's depend upon customer to customer. Out of these 5 parameters, which parameter is most important for them? So suppose my e-commerce type of organization, then their most important factor would be service availability and pricing, because e-commerce don't bother about data and all. Compliance anyway, it's good to have. But if I am going on a banking sector, then maybe data residency, compliance, location is my initial criteria to choose the region. So what I'm trying to say, it depends upon business to business, out of these 5 parameters which is most important for them, and accordingly you can choose as your region to launch your applications or infrastructure.